I think in real life, Geoffrey published, had written a collection of poetry that Tolkien got published posthumously when he died. And I think that sort of dedication and love, really comes out in Tolkien's writing. To be honest, hanging about with the boys and Dome, he really created such a cool vibe on set where we could just experiment. It never felt like there was any pressure, even though it was a big studio movie. It just felt like it was like the TCBS hanging out, and Dome was our weird uncle who was telling us to do this or do that, and it was just a lot of fun. Yeah, beautiful.
Well, there's two sides. First of all, I've read Lord of the Rings when I was 12 or 13, so I'm a fan, and then read Hobbit and then read Silmarillion, and some of his other books like The Story of Kullervo. And then the second thing is his real life story. It's very, I was surprised. I didn't know about it. I always saw Tolkien, he's with C.S. Lewis at the pub and they're chatting about elves. And but no, actually, yes, that's the later part of the life. But the younger part of the life is so dramatical. He becomes orphaned at the age of 12 and kind of goes into this dark place. And from that dark place, through love and through fellowship, he kind of grows into this, famous writer and to write all these beautiful stories. I would say that as a Tolkien fan, creating the fantasy elements was of course something that you rarely are able to do in films, and the stories don't necessarily need it. I think secondly is the bunch of these TCBS, this young, you're kind of creating a story of friendship, you're creating the energy and the inspiration that they are delivering to each other, and you're just the kind of the joy of life that you're showing with them. I think that was enjoyable because you are on set and you want to be with those young men, and you're trying to create that so that the audience can feel that they're watching these young men grow in their artistic needs or their artistic aims, and at the same time they are kind of becoming this amazing friendship. And I think that was something that I really enjoyed making.
It was the relationships, I think, mainly that I focused in on. The relationship with the TCBS, that group of boys that he felt safe to create and share his art with, and then also his romance and love with Edith Bratt, who Lily Collins plays in the movie, which was obviously a great source of inspiration for him. That, and lastly, his love of language, and how all of the words that and the worlds that he created are steeped with so much history of language. I was a fan, so I certainly felt the responsibility, and the more research you do, the more the weight of that you feel. At the same time, it's not doing an impression of the man. I'm trying to capture the essence of him through and tell this story. So obviously want to do him justice. I'm a fan as much as anybody else, so I hope people like it and find it an interesting story and learn about him and his passions. He always said that the war wasn't an allegory for his work. Obviously that was a huge influence and an experience that would have changed him. So it is, I would say, those friendships, those romances, and also his time with Professor Wright at Oxford that Derek Jacobi plays in the movie. That was someone who really inspired him and put him back on course to be successful and give him the chance to create. I had an incredible time. I loved learning about the man. That was a great honour, getting to spend that time going over his work again and reading it as an adult and appreciating it more than ever, and spending time with these guys and everybody on set. I love being on set.
I think for me it was creating this bond with the four guys. The TCBS were kind of notoriously a tight-knit group of friends, and getting a chance to recreate that for a job is kind of a dream. The amount that friendship impacted Tolkien and affected him later on in life, and the fact that it was kind of short-lived because of the war. My character Robert was killed on the first day of the Somme, and so I think that moment in time for Tolkien and when they were sort of young and carefree was so important, and I think often in history you sort of see these things back to front. You kind of read that they were in the war and that they died in the war, and that's sort of almost what defines them in for me anyway when I was reading it. And so to go back and realize that this love that was between them was really so poignant and but really beautiful.
It's imperative. I think that's the core of it. I think the movie holds themes like fellowship and loyalty and
love and appreciation of each other and each other's work and each other's sort of idea of what life is. And you know, these kids were and young men were talking about these huge subjects, you know, and they were sort of social outcasts in a way, and they found each other and made the TCBS. I think that is what this film is about. It's about loyalty, and you can see it through Tolkien's work now that, you know, these themes were so important to him: fellowship, sort of a longing to be part of something and part of a bigger thing, a greater picture. I think probably the sort of glimpse into what his life may have been like, you know, and if these people are, the fans of Tolkien are, you know, sort of besotted by the idea of his work and what it does for them. I always find, for things that I really, really appreciate and admire, to look into sort of the life of the person who created it is always fascinating for me. Just a little glimpse into his friends, into his love life, into the you know, the issues that he may have encountered on his way through his journey through university, and the struggles that he had with money and funding, and, you know, all the issues that people still have today still existed back then, you know. And